Somewhere I have never traveled, gladly beyond any experience, your eyes have their silence. In your most frail gesture are things which enclose me, or which I cannot touch because they are too near. Your slightest look easily will unclose me, though I have closed myself as fingers. You open always petal by petal myself, as spring opens, touching skillfully, mysteriously, her first rose. Or if your wish be to close me, I and my life will shut very beautifully, suddenly, as when the heart of this flower imagines the snow carefully everywhere descending. Nothing which we are to perceive in this world equals the power of your intense fragility, whose texture compels me with the color of its countries, rendering death and forever with each breathing. I do not know what it is about you that closes and opens. Only something in me understands the voice of your eyes is deeper than all roses. Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands.
Edward Estlin Cummings was born on October 14, 1894 in Cambridge, Massachusetts to Edward Cummings and Rebecca Hoswell Clark. His father taught at Harvard and was also a minister. From the time he was young, his parents encouraged him to develop his creative gifts, and his mother even encouraged him to write and keep a journal. Cummings attended Cambridge public schools and then went to Harvard. While at Harvard he enjoyed poetry, writing and painting. Some of his poems were published in the Harvard periodicals. He graduated from Harvard with his master's degree in 1916. In 1917 his poems were published in the book 8 Harvard Poets. That same year, he joined Norton Harry's ambulance corps. While in the corps, he became friends with William Slater Brown, and they were both arrested for suspicion of espionage because of the letters that Brown wrote home. They were released from the concentration camp after 4 months and sent home, but they remained best friends. Shortly thereafter, E. Cummings was drafted into the army where he served until November 1918. He met his first wife, Elaine Orr, that same year. They were married in 1924 and they had one child, Nancy. The marriage didn't last long and after their divorce, Elaine remarried and moved to Ireland with Nancy and prevented E. Cummings from seeing his daughter. In 1929 he married Anne Barton and they were also divorced. Both divorces had a bad impact on his life. In 1934, he met Marion Morehouse and she lived with him as his common-law wife. In 1946 E. Cummings was reunited with his daughter, Nancy, after many years with no contact. He lived with Marion Morehouse, his common-law wife, until his death on September 3, 1962. In college, E. Cummings followed the principles of poet Ezra Pound. However, by 1918 he had created his own poetic style. He broke up words and presented them in a new way. In his poems, he didn't use punctuation or capitalization. Capitals were used only for special emphasis. Punctuation marks were used only for a shock effect. He was also noted for the use of the lowercase letter I in his poems. E. Cummings was well known for his scrambled words and array of hidden messages. To unlock his messages that are hidden behind his brilliant use of figurative language, you must carefully read between the lines of his poetry. All of his work is brilliant and different from any other poet. E. Cummings took the meaning of the word rational to a whole new level. His work looks like random words and phrases thrown together, and the reader must stop and think beyond the written text. E. Cummings was a different breed of poet. He used his unconventional yet brilliant style to send a message to the reader. In his work, E. Cummings didn't use capital letters, proper punctuation, or proper grammar. He used this to his advantage in mixing the message into the poem. He deliberately confused the reader by having them follow the winding paths of words he had created because he felt that a straight one would narrow the reader's mind. He was especially popular among young readers. The speaker is addressing the one he loves, with great tenderness and wonder. He admits the power that person has over him, but does not really understand why it should be so. Even the small things about that person, textures, gestures, a look, are utterly fascinating. The speaker is totally fascinated by the beloved. He is completely under her control. The poet has taken us on a journey into the mysterious realms of his lover's power. It is a romantic in-the-moment love poem written for a special partner. He tries to explain what looking into her eyes feels like. He is entranced by the deep mysteriousness of her soul. The power she has over him only seems to make him love her more. He expresses his surprise and wonder at the mystery of love. Some insist it was an ode to his second wife, Anne Barton. Others claim it to be an attempt to transcend sexuality, lust and love. The poet's mood can be described as joyfully optimistic. There is a definite excitement in his mood. The poet is uneasy, but not nervous. He is amazed at this excitement and at times are almost delirious. The speaker's tone is one of admiration, awe, wonder and reverence. He finds it amazing that the mere presence can overwhelm his senses, thoughts and emotions. The expression in her eyes conveys the intensity of her love for him. The unusual connection the speaker makes between the senses suggests that even without words, there is communication and understanding between the lovers. There is the idea of love's being inexplicable, mysterious and spiritual. There is no logic to explain why his beloved is able to exert absolute power over him, yet instinctively he is willing to accede to her. The fact that there is little rhyme used in the first 4 stanzas makes the use of rhyme in the final stanza all the more noticeable. All the way through our journey, we hear the meditative O sound, which is also a subtle sonic reminder of the sense of awe in our speaker. Faulty punctuation, parenthesis, engagement, careful placement of colons and commas, idiosyncratic, upside-down syntax, and unconventional style is keeping with the spirit of his adventure. It is a fun roller coaster of emotions. He prefers to stay outside of formal poetry regulations. There is a radical arrangement of grammar and form. Given all the unusual features of the poet's writing, it might be surprising to see a definite form being used. The poem is composed of regular 4-line stanzas, and each stanza deals with a new, separate point. The poem is written in free verse. How else would we expect this rule breaker to write? The absence of capital letters and full stops means that there is no beginning or end to the poem, and this relates to the idea that love is timeless. The title immediately brings to mind pictures of traveling to an unknown place. On old maps there used to be pictures of dragons on the edges of a map to indicate that the area is unexplored. This was the first thought on my mind. However, in this poem the journey is not physical, but metaphorical. In simple terms, the poet says, I have never felt like this before. One has to remember that Cummings generally used punctuation as he chooses. In the title the uncapitalized I can be seen as the poet thinking of himself as insignificant. He states he is insignificant when compared to his lover. The poet conveys something that transcends normality, the idea of love as a journey or travel beyond words straight to the eyes of his lover, where he seems to disappear into her soul. Engagement is present. The speaker is taking us on a metaphorical journey. The word gladly indicate that he is enthusiastic about it. The word beyond in the sentence suggests that there are no boundaries on this journey. This is a journey into uncharted territory. There is no map for this journey. In line 2 the poet uses synesthesia. Synesthesia is a condition where people use information meant to stimulate one of your senses and then it stimulates several of your senses. People see music notes in color, for instance. People can smell a color or associate a color and smell. In the poem the poet is confused to the mysterious look in his lover's eyes. Consequently, he sees silence. He doesn't understand. She seems to have a mysterious power over him. In lines 1 to 2. The unexplored place the speaker is heading into is the depths of his lover's eyes. Eyes are often called the windows to the soul. If the speaker's eyes are silent at times, it may mean that she can be really hard to read, which only makes her more exciting to the speaker. The woman's subtle gestures overwhelm the speaker. He loses his confidence and becomes insecure around her. She makes him shy. He cannot pinpoint exactly what it is about her that overwhelms him. He finds it difficult to explain his feelings. Line 4 creates a deliberate paradox. He cannot understand these feelings as they are too near. It's a part of him, but he cannot explain or touch them. Touch in this line can be seen as understand, or rather to make sense of. The slightest look the poet shares with this woman drives him insane. No physical contact is necessary. It is worth noting that the poet's apparent discomfort should not be seen as something disturbing. He enjoys the feeling. The word easily emphasizes how effortless the poet gets moved by the woman's presence. Unclose that is very similar to enclose in line 3 and suggests that the speaker's beloved both contain and open him with just a look or movement. The poet notes in line 6 that he has been hurt many times and closed himself up from other people to protect himself. He closed of his emotions like a clenched fist in the simile. The beloved, however, has managed to gently pry open his clenched emotions like a flower in spring. The word always emphasizes this with its incorrect placement in the line. The poet describes how the beloved carefully exerts pressure on him to open up his emotions. Her persistent and careful movement makes it impossible to resist. The poet's choice of words is deliberate. Roses are the traditional symbols of love and dedication. Spring is season of growth and fertility. Spring is also associated with love and new relationships. The parenthesis in line 8 emphasizes immediacy of his feelings in the moment of love. It suggests the magical quality of spring and love. She is expertly gentle, and he cannot explain how she manages to do it. The way that a rose blossoms, over time. And mysteriously, so too does she open him up and break his resistance. The word order and strange punctuation rushes the poet's thoughts. The lack of punctuation binds the word together in an artificial but effective way. The beloved has total control over the speaker. If she wishes to crush or trample him, he does not mind and will accept it willingly. She has him at her whims and fancies. In line 11 we encounter a rather well-hidden simile. He compares himself to a flower whose instinct or heart senses the onset of the cold weather and begins to shut. Just as the rose knows when winter is coming and will die. The flower is given consciousness and imagination, and similarly, his emotions will close up if she wishes to do so. His life will fade away like the rose when it feels the slow kiss of the snowflake. She has a godly power. In a nutshell, she has complete control over him, just as the seasons have control over the life cycle of a flower. He is not control, she has an almost godlike hold over him. Her power goes beyond anything that exists on earth. The poet uses an oxymoron to emphasize the delicate hold the woman has over him. He doesn't want to resist because he is afraid to hurt her. This allows him to know the preciousness of the situation. In every moment there is a thrill. This moment can suddenly end or lasts forever. The speaker is being touched by things you wouldn't be able to feel in a literal sense, her fragility. The reference to countries in line 15 brings back the idea of a journey into the unknown. A place where the traveler doesn't know where the borders are. It could also mean that the land is vast, that it seems borderless. It connects to the image of journey into the unknown. She has become all the vibrant experiences in the world to him. His emotional intimacy with her is like an exciting adventure. The alliteration, color and countries, gives extra power to the words and draws the reader's attention. Every breath, by implication, every moment, every look, creates an euphoric high to the speaker. He doesn't care about life or death anymore. She has divine influence over him. The poet starts stanza 5 with parenthesis that again creates immediacy and reflection. The poet continues to state that not even the unstoppable power of nature is nothing compared to the power or influence this woman has over him. Note the personification in lines 19 to 20 where the poet states that his beloved can open him like the rain opens up a rose. This could be somewhat weird to understand. The rain opens not the rose, the rain is this the non-living thing. The rose is not just the symbol of love, the rose is also the symbol for secrecy. The Latin expression sub rosa means under the rose, which means secrecy. The poet the rose is a clever symbol to emphasize the mystery hidden in his lover's eyes. Once again, the speaker describes himself as being opened by some intangible thing about his love. He compares himself to a flower being opened again, but notice that it isn't the rain that opens him. It's a mysterious, subtle thing with even smaller hands than the rain. Rain does not have hands as far as I remember. A small hand serves as reminder of fragility of the beloved. As mentioned before, the object of our speaker's affection is even more powerful than the transformative power of rain. The poet's lack of proper punctuation links the words together to emphasize the immense power of the beloved.